Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the King James Version. It's James Lamar here. This is episode 2 of You Think You Know, But You Have No Idea. Uh, I'm so glad that you guys checked out my first video, and the reviews and things that I got in response to the video have been incredible. Some very unexpected, and I'm just so glad that it got the feedback that it received. I'm very appreciative and very grateful for any of you guys who took the time out to watch it. Thank you so much. Definitely express my gratitude for that. I'm just getting back in from a night out with my best friend. We went to this restaurant called Shooters here, Shooters Waterfront. It's right on the water. It's very nice ambiance, very nice vibe. It was her first time there. I suggested the place, and excuse me, she agreed to it. So she had a great time. We had a great time. And it's my friend Whitney, who I've been friends with for over 20 years. And I'm just so grateful. Like how blessed am I to have someone who has stuck by me that long of a period of time, you know what I'm saying? So, it was definitely a great time spent. That's why I'm like dressed up right now. And I was like, I'm feeling good. I feel like I look good, you know what I'm saying? So how about we, just go ahead and record this second video tonight. Here's the thing. My second video was on pause because last week, Saturday, I actually went to the beach. I had a solo beach day. It was nice. I went to Fort Lauderdale Beach and enjoyed myself and everything. And I decided to just put out my towel and lie down and, just absorb the sun, get that natural vitamin D, right? But I'm not young anymore, so that's what my sister told me, at least, Jazz. She said, "You're not young anymore. You need to put on sunscreen." So I hadn't put on any sunscreen, and here's me thinking that I'm getting a tan, a natural tan, and by all means, I was sunburnt like fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like it was crazy. Like I was dark as hell. And I was willing to get darker, that I didn't have any issue with that, but no, my skin was burnt. So I said, before I hop back on this camera, baby, we got to be right. So, throughout the week, it started progressively getting better. And I'm just grateful for that. You know what I'm saying? But that's what was kind of like stalling that second video. I wanted to make sure that I looked good and I presented my best self, best version of self, the King James Version, okay? But yes, we are back by popular demand. um, and thank you guys for asking for the second video. That made me so excited. And, I said, I gotta come back, but, again, just a little bit of nervousness because now, since there's been a level of expectation from the first video, I mean, the second video, I got to come with it, right? It's almost like my second single, right? I'm a new artist and it's my second single. So, the first single went to top of the charts and then now we got to follow up with that. It's pressure behind that, okay? But yes, I'm back. I know we left off regarding a lot of things in my childhood and adolescence last video. So this video, I wanted to make it like a continuum of things that have happened, as I grew up and got older and things of that nature. So, post high school, basically, I'm just trying to find my way, I wanted to, by the way, I wanted to talk about like love and love is like a subject, abandonment, things of that nature, to kind of give you like a clear outline of where I'm going. So let me back up really quick. I was raised by my grandmother, as I discussed in the first video. And so that wasn't necessarily by choice. My grandmother adopted myself as well as three of my sisters. I have four. So she adopted myself as well as three of my sisters. And it was because my mom wasn't, she wasn't capable of taking care of us or whatever due to her own, personal things that she had going on. And then my dad wasn't in the picture either. It's like I knew my dad, but like I feel like I knew of him, and I knew of him, but I didn't know my dad. I'm actually named after my dad. He's James Smith II. I am the third, technically on paperwork, but but we have a different middle name. My mom couldn't remember my dad's middle name when she was in the hospital after she gave birth to me. But he wasn't around necessarily. Um, you know, he was there from time to time. There are moments that I remember him pulling up with McDonald's for me and my sister Jazz and stuff. But it just, my two older sisters share a dad, by the way. They share the same dad. And then me and my sister Jasmine, we share the same dad, but we share different dads, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like a whole blended type of situation, but all four of us share the same mother. So, yeah, our dad will come over and bring us McDonald's from time to time in his truck, and we get excited. Oh, there's our dad, XYZ. Hey, free food, McDonald's was everything back then. And, that was exciting. Those moments were exciting. But as far as knowing my father, I really feel like I never got a chance to really, really know him or really have a relationship with him. And before he passed away back in '05 or '06, my memory is kind of blurry around that time frame. But I believe it was '05 that he passed away. And I was told that it was due to liver cancer. And, you know, I'm very young. When I got the news, I really didn't, honestly, I didn't get emotional. Nor my sister, to my recollection. We didn't get emotional because honestly, it felt like I had lost a stranger, I guess you could say, because again, he come from time to time and I knew who he was. He would be at the corner store that was adjacent to the apartment complex that we stayed at. And we go up there from time to time, and, he liked to, talk about us and hype us up. This is my son, this is my daughter, this is little man, this is sugar mama, things of that nature. But it was cool being, talked about and, I guess, bragged about to his friends and things. But I didn't really care for that because I didn't really care for it in totality because I was like, I feel like I'm being bragged upon, but it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're not really active in my life. Like, I don't really know you. And, this isn't to talk bad about my dad. This is just to speak about my personal experience, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that I've made peace with at this point at 32. But it was told to me and my sister that he did the best that he could. Nonetheless, I didn't feel like I was presented with the best, and I felt like I was presented with bare minimum, you know what I mean? And he wasn't really present. He wasn't as present as he could have been, that's how I feel about it. So there was that, I never had that son-dad relationship that some guys do have, that are fortunate to have. An ex-friend of mine, I always told him that I really admired his relationship with his dad and the closeness of it and everything because, that's something that I would never experience. He's gone, and that became reality the year that he passed away. So then, at the funeral, I did get emotional at the funeral. Let's be clear, I'm an empath. So, seeing all the emotions around me and seeing my grandmother on my dad's side, you know, definitely getting emotional, and my aunts and uncles and stuff, it was a lot. And so that definitely made me emotional. That definitely made me cry. That was the first time that I had cried, the day of the funeral and everything. However, I also was crying because I was thinking like there will never be another opportunity for me and him to build anything deeper, anything significant. It's done. It's a wrap. That's it. Like, that's it. There's nothing can be undone. This is it, and this is the new reality, regardless of however I envisioned it could have been. I had finally built up the courage to like want to speak to him and tell him, hey, you're not really around and stuff like that. Like, in all honesty, I did want to kind of like tell him off, at some point in time. And I just was like, I'll never even get a chance to like express how I felt or say what I needed to say. Because before that, I was silent when I went around him. I didn't really speak much. I didn't really say much because I didn't know what to say. It was a bit awkward for me, most times. This is not to say that I was scared or anything like that. Nothing like that. But it was to say that I felt like I didn't really know him. That's just the bottom line. So there was that missing piece there in the home as far as being brought up, around four sisters, not four sisters, but four women, my grandmother and my three sisters, and not really having a male figure in the home. So there was already that. So I was feeling like a void from that, right? And then there was also my mother, who was not, around as well, and incapable of raising us. And the moments that we were able to see her and spend time with her, it was cool. I felt like I knew more of my mother and had more of a relationship with my mother. But it was so in and out that it wasn't consistent, and it it didn't allow for there to be a true relationship there, right? So with that being said, my mom and dad not being in the household, not being in the picture, both, neither of them raising, you know, me and Jasmine, and then my mom not raising Tramika and Dominique. I'm sorry, guys, for mentioning your names. If you didn't want them mentioned, I apologize. And then they have their own situation with their dad as well, and so on and so forth. I mean, I just felt like, well, damn, like, you go to school, you see people's mothers dropping them off, people's dads dropping them off, picking them up, so on and so forth. And you kind of feel like sometimes, well, damn, like, it would be nice if I was like raised by one of my parents, at least, at minimum. And I was being raised by my grandmother. And I'm so grateful for her and I'm so thankful for her. However, like, my grandmother got softer as she got older. She got softer as she got older, less strict and stuff like that. But I was raised in a very strict household. You understand? Like, it was very like disciplined. And if you acted out or misbehaved, or if she just felt like, hey, you're guilty by association, you were disciplined. And that was with whatever she could find at the moment and stuff like that, or her hand or whatever. That was the generation that she came from. That was the generation that she was raised up in. That's what she knew. she did what she knew. You understand? So although I know that my grandmother loved me and loved my siblings and everything like that, sometimes it didn't feel like it, right? You know, you're young, you're going through the years and growing up and stuff like that, and it's just like, whoopings and different things. And a lot of times I felt like I was misunderstood, and I was a very emotional child. Apparently, she said that I would just cry and cry sometimes, just cry. And like, oh, if I was to get a whooping, I would cry tremendously. Like I could go on for hours. Okay, and like I could literally go on. Like she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, he's still in there crying." Yeah, because why did you hit me? Like, why did you hit me? Like, I didn't deserve that. I wasn't a bad child, by the way, at all. And if she was still here to tell you, she would tell you that he wasn't a bad child. He just cried a lot because I was very good in school. I brought home amazing grades all the time, AB honor roll consistently, high GPA, most times and everything like that. Like my grandmother never had any issues out of me while I was going to school. You understand? None, like ever. And so she always admired that. So I was a good child. It's just, I was a very emotional child. I was a very emotional child as well. And, I will say that basically, not being raised by either parent and being raised by a very strict grandparent, I often felt like I lacked love. I often felt like I lacked love. It felt like voids, within me. Things felt like love that I was supposed to be receiving, I wasn't getting, and of course that affected my mindset along with everything else that has happened, right? As far as the bullying and all that kind of stuff for many, many years. So now that you have like the meat and potatoes in a way, you can lead that up to my, late teenage years going into adulthood and things of that nature. And now love, now I'm looking for love, and I want love, and excuse me. And so now I'm searching for that. I'm in my early 20s or whatever. Well, back that up, 19, I meet my ex-girlfriend. Shout out to her. She's amazing. We still keep in contact to this day. Birthdays and just saying hello from time to time. But we were together for like 5 months, not long, but that was my first basically like serious relationship. And we were young, and she had gone through some things as well with loss of a parent as well. And, I was there during that, that actually happened the day that we met, that evening later on that night. So I do feel as though, dealing with grief and stuff like that would affect any type of relationship, with anyone. And we were very young. I think she was like a year younger than me. And, so that didn't quite pan out. That didn't work out, and it was what it was. It ended when I was 20. But I'm grateful for the good memories. Now, keep in mind, I still hadn't yet admitted like to myself that I liked men, and that, I was gay and all this kind of stuff. But 20 is actually, let me rewind. I think I met her at 18, and then maybe we ended at 19. We ended when I was 19. I can't remember exactly now, but it's somewhere around that time frame. Because now I'm remembering when I moved into my place. I moved into my first apartment at 19, and that was literally at the end of '09. And so 2010 rolls around, and I have, I'm in my own place, and now, like, there had been a guy who had been, trying to pursue me since high school or whatever. And, he ended up hitting me up again. And make a long story short, we ended up basically, getting in contact. And he basically was the first person that I ever let my guard down with, as far as actually, being intimate with a guy or whatever. And, this was my first time. I was nervous. I was scared, like, as far as, just doing anything, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but at the same time, I'm feeling this way, and so on and so forth. So I'm like, hey, eventually it's like, I just acted upon my genuine emotions. And I said, I just gave in, you know what I'm saying? No sex, let's be clear. But it just, that was the first time that I let my guard down in regard to doing anything with a guy. And I still struggle with that aspect afterwards. I still struggle with, you're not gay, you're gay, whatever. And he didn't like that, because it's like, he would tell me, I still remember, he would tell me, he was like, one day you want to be gay, the next day you want to be straight. Like, come on, like, and it's not, and I get it, it wasn't fair to him, kind of like taking him around this, this, what do you call it, roller coaster, right? This emotional roller coaster. It wasn't, and I get it. However, I was still struggling, you know what I'm saying? Later on down that year, I have a friend. Oh, I put quotations because I put quotations because, this person really wasn't a friend to me, like the true definition of a friend. So that's why I did that. But by way of him, he introduces me to some people, and he's like, oh, such and such wants to talk to you or whatever. And so I give in. I'm like, for real, and stuff. So we get to talking and stuff like that. And, and I was liking it. I was feeling it. Like, this was attention that I'm not used to getting, right? This is nice. Oh, by the way, the other guy decided to just, leave me be as I figured out my own shit. And they went off to college too. So, we were no longer in the same vicinity anyway. But definitely I still had feelings for him and everything like that. But I understood, life was progressing. But yeah, I started talking to this guy, and later on that year in 2010, and I thought everything was going fine. I thought everything was going well. I was excited, whatever. I'm working, right? I'm at work one day at the old Winn-Dixie, and I'm on break. I decided to give him a call. We had been speaking, texting, talking, stuff like that. And as I'm on the phone with him, he's like, he told me that he's starting to talk back to his ex. So I'm like, huh? And he's like, yeah, I'm talking back to my ex. And I was like, wow, okay, so I'm confused. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. I'm perplexed. So I'm confused. I'm like, so what does that mean in regard to like us, And he was like, well, I already told you what my decision is. So listen, I was just so heartbroken, right? Because I'm just like, what? Like, this is come on. Like, this is the first guy I'm kind of like seriously kind of like trying to talk to outside of, the one who left for college. And he literally told me that he made it, he made his decision. He's going to talk back to his ex. And I didn't understand that. And of course, at this point in time, we had already done sexual related activities, right? And stuff like that. And I just felt so like depleted and, just like used, kind of like for entertainment while you and your ex worked out you guys' shit and stuff. I don't fucking know. I just didn't understand. Like, so mind you, I had to go back to work. So I had to go back to work, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm emotionally distraught, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, and I'm just like, what can I do? I can't do anything. He made up his mind, you know what I'm saying? So that was my first instance of like, kind of like the gay community and dating in the gay world, you know what I'm saying? And it was not a favorable one, right? It was not something that was it's not a pleasurable memory or whatever. And over the years, from time to time, me and this person end up being back in communication. I end up giving this person another try, or it was always like a situationship. It never led to a relationship. And it was that, keep in mind of what I discussed before, that those emotional voids, right? That those abandonment issues, right? That lack of love. So, I know it in hindsight, but I didn't know it right then and there. I was seeking the love that I hadn't gotten at home for all those many years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was seeking to complete myself by way of somebody else, thinking that I needed someone else to complete me, And then this is how literally from like 20 years old, how I would live my life up until like recently, as far as love was concerned. And as far as, abandonment issues were concerned and stuff like that. Seeking love externally, seeking love outside of myself, and, just figuring if I just meet that guy, if I just meet that person, my life will be great and everything will be good and we can ride off into the sunset and all this kind of stuff. And no. So it's literally like, I took, like, there would be hurt, right, from whatever situation, and I take that hurt and I go into the next situation. And not saying like intentionally taking that hurt, but like it would be there. It's like all of these situations would basically somewhat be an emotional scar that was left on me. Can't see them, but they're there, right? So at this point, that situation ends. And just make a long story short, guys thereafter who I was meeting, it was basically kind of like I was getting like the same person in different bodies a lot of time, because I'm not knowing my worth. Granted, like when certain stuff would present itself, of course I would just, cut it off or just be like, oh, this dude got me fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But at the same time, like unconsciously attracting the same type of man, from that time, from that guy of when I was 20 years old, attracting the same man, but in different bodies. Because I'm not knowing my worth, and I'm still seeking that love and seeking that validation, and I just want to be loved. Like, I love so much, and I love so deeply, and I just want to be loved, and I want to feel loved, and I want to feel valued, and I want somebody to be excited when they see me, and when they see my name across their screen on their phone, and yeah, I love it. Like, and I'm a hopeless romantic at heart. You know what I'm saying? So I love love. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just do. And as time progressed, like, I never really got that chivalry. I never, outside of a friend asking me to go on a date, and then outside of the dates that I was in the one relationship I've had with the guy, my ex, outside of us going on dates while we were on our relationship, as far as just like dating and meeting these guys and whatever, no one's ever asked me on a proper date. No one's ever said, oh, I'd like to take you on a date and be ready at this time, be ready on this day, this time, here's where we're going. I've never gotten that whole shebang, I've never had that, and that I would be seeking that. That's what I would be looking for. And, meeting these trash ass men, oh my goodness, trying to get on these apps. Everybody just want to have sex on the apps and stuff like that. For some reason, my spirit, my soul never really took to that well. Granted, I'm looking for love, so I ain't gonna say that I haven't tried it out. I ain't gonna say that I haven't done it from time to time with the apps, but it was just something that never really was fulfilling to me. It never really was like that gratifying to me, because it would leave me more depleted. It would leave me feeling more empty inside. Like, yeah, maybe I engaged in sexual intimacy with one of these guys from the apps, right? But at the same time, because there's no deeper connection there, because there's no deeper feelings there or whatever, I'm still feeling the void. I'm still feeling the lack of love, and it's crippling. It's crippling, and this becomes my life. This becomes my life, and I feel like, okay, I go from one guy, and again, like, I didn't have sex with all these people or anything like that, so I want to be clear about that. But I go from one guy, and maybe I'm talking to them, getting to know them, and then a lot of these guys will ghost me too, and so that was another thing. Now you're adding on another layer in regard to the abandonment issues. People ghosting me, and I'm not understanding. I'm like, I'm so nice, and I don't do anything wrong in my head, in my opinion. And it starts to feel like, is something wrong with me? I start feeling like something's wrong with me. I'm defective. Like, no one loves me like how I want to be loved. No one cares for me and how I want to be cared for, at least not in a romantic aspect. And I am just accompanied with all the shit that I had already gone through in my childhood and different things and so on and so forth. I'm just feeling like, my goodness, like, I'm just feeling depressed. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. I start to feel like I'm not worthy of love. I literally start to feel like I'm not worthy of love. You can go, and that's why I have like old Facebook statuses that I will never delete. Why? Because it reminds me of a time period in which I was really going through something and not my best self, and very much so down in the dumps, and feeling like there was no way out. And I remember one of the statuses saying that I don't deserve love. I can't believe I wrote that, but I wrote that because that's how I felt at the time. Because I felt like no one showed it to me. No one was giving it to me. I was being ghosted. None of the talking stages led to anything deeper. Oftentimes it was situationships and things of that nature. This video has gotten long. It's another long one, 35 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it here. I know it was getting juicy or whatever, but thank you guys again for sitting down with me, having a conversation with me. I will pause the story right there, and you can expect more in episode 3. Then I can get into maybe aspects of the relationship that I actually finally did have, and discuss more about that and how those things affected me as well. But I definitely appreciate you guys tuning in once again. I do want to ask a favor. So I'm so appreciative to all of the viewers from the last video. Nonetheless, everything helps as far as YouTube is concerned. So the views are going to help. The subscriber count is going to help. The commenting is going to help. The liking the video is going to help, as well as turning on post notifications, which is like the little bell that should be on my page somewhere. If you guys could, I want to ask if you guys don't have a YouTube account, because I know many people don't. I didn't have one for a long time as well. But if you could create one and then subscribe to my channel for me, that would be such a huge help to getting my videos out there, getting into the algorithm that, more people are able to see it and get my messages and things of that nature. Again, this is all leading up to, what I've endured and what I've overcome and how I got to this version of myself today, the King James Version. So yes, if you guys could help me out, that would definitely be appreciated in all aspects. And I want to thank you guys again. And yes, peace and love to all of you guys. Love and light, all of that good stuff. Wishing you guys well. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye. Turn off. Why does it always do that?